Hello, everybody, and welcome back to CELPIP Live. If you've been here before, you'll notice the first thing today is that our usual host, Ashwati, is not here. Unfortunately, Ashwati is feeling just a little bit under the weather. So I'm going to be hosting today's episode, and I'm happy to do so. I'm Brandy, and I am one of the CELPIP test instructors. Now, we always begin an episode of CELPIP Live with a fun trivia question for you to answer. And we've got a special holiday-themed question for you today, so let's have a look at that question right now. Our question reads, Mele Kalikimaka means Merry Christmas in what language? Feel free to answer this question in the live feed. No Googling. Bonus points for spelling the answer correctly, as it is a little bit tough today. We will share the answer to this question at the end of today's episode. In the meantime, let's start our show. If you're new here, CELPIP Live is an interactive YouTube series that was designed with the test taker in mind. We're here to give lots of tips and helpful prep ideas if you're preparing for the CELPIP language proficiency test. If you are getting ready to write this test, we encourage you to subscribe to our channels by clicking on the bell icon, so you'll always be notified when we're going live and you won't miss any of our episodes. In today's episode, we have a special guest with us today. Her name is Isabella, and she is from eVisa Immigration Services. She's here to talk to us all about the Student Direct Stream, which we call SDS for short. And she's also going to explain how you can use the CELPIP or CAEL language test with SDS if you're looking to apply for your study permit in Canada. Let's go say hello to her.
Hello.
Hello, Isabella. Welcome in. I love your festive background there.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today. Hello, guys. Thanks for everybody that is joining us.
Yes.
I will share my screen so I can explain better about the company and especially about SDS.
Yes.
This stream is a benefit for those who can apply, and I will explain why. So no further ado, I will share my screen. And guys, feel free to send your questions here in the comments, because at the end, I'll be answering everyone, okay?
Right.
You guys can hear me fine? Can see me?
Yeah, okay. We can see you clearly. We can hear you well. We're looking forward to all of the expertise you're going to share with us, because this is a timely episode. We're getting lots of questions about Student Direct Stream. Great. So we look forward to seeing your presentation.
Great. So let me share here. Just give me one moment.
No problem at all.
So can you guys see it?
It's just about to load. There it is. Perfect. Yes. Take it away, Isabella.
Okay. So as Brandy mentioned, I'm from eVisa Immigration. I am an immigration consultant. So I love when you share the screen and say, ask an expert. I feel important now. About us, so we are an immigration company. We have helped over 15,000 families around the world. So we have helped over 60 countries. And we offer services in English, Portuguese, Spanish, French, and Farsi. We are also very proud to say that we have won in 2 consecutive years the Top Choice Awards for the Best Immigration Company and Best Immigration Business in Vancouver as well. Our vision, we aim to become one of the main education and immigration consultant business in Canada, and we are getting there. We are pretty big. And our mission is to provide quality services and help people to come to Canada, to study, to immigrate, to establish themselves in their careers. We are 7 regulated Canadian immigration consultants. Here are our pictures. And you can see that in these pictures, there are more than 7 because we also added our education team, our education consultants, our career team as well. So that's why you see more people there. Some of us are located in Vancouver, some in Brazil, some in Toronto, and we have one in Europe as well. We have our office in Vancouver, Toronto, São Paulo, and Tehran in Iran. And other than immigration, which is the main the main services we provide, we also help people come to study English and post-secondary education. And we have our career team, because as immigrants, it's hard when you come to Canada and you don't know anyone, you don't have a network, maybe your English is not as good. So usually it's hard for people to arrive and get a job in the same level they had back home. So our career team is here to help you build your resume, cover letter, giving tips on how to perform during the interview, just to increase your chances of getting a good job in the same level or even higher than when you had back home. Now, coming to the most important part, what is SDS, right? I mentioned before that's a benefit for those who can apply. Unfortunately, the student direct stream is not for everyone, okay? It is focused on some specific countries. So if you don't have citizenship in these countries, unfortunately, you cannot apply. So here on the side, it's a list of the countries that are eligible to apply for the student direct stream. So we have here Antigua and Barbuda. Brazil was recently added. China, Colombia, Costa Rica, India, Morocco, Pakistan, Peru, the Philippines, Senegal, St. Vincent and Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, and Vietnam. Okay. This list can grow, and we hope IRCC adds more countries. As I said, Brazil was just recently added, so they are always assessing the need of adding more countries. So don't take it, if you're not from one of these countries, don't take it as it will never be there, because things change all the time. I always say that immigration is not a straight line. Things change. And that being said, if you want to immigrate and if you're looking, if you have like a medium to long-term plan, don't just watch this live and take it for as like 100% true, because things change, not only for SDS, but for everything else. So you have to always be in touch with the updates. And I invite you guys to follow us on social media, because everything that IRCC announces, we come and we post and we make lives and we share stories just so you guys are updated on all the changes, okay? And you don't stay behind. Okay, so why consider SDS? Why is that a benefit? Why is it so important? And why are we talking about it today, right? It's a streamlined visa application process, and it's faster. So that here is the benefit. The processing time for SDS is a lot faster than normal applications. So some people that are applying to study in Canada, some colleges, some universities, they take a long time to issue the letter of acceptance. And considering the processing time, many people have to change their intake for a later date. But if you are eligible to apply for SDS, then you don't need to go through that stress of changing your date. Many people already sold their place or sold furniture, already quit their jobs because they are ready to come, and then they have to wait until next intake. Most colleges and universities stop during summer, right? So imagine if you had the intake for April, May, and then you had to wait until September to come to Canada. So SDS is handy in these cases, because the processing time is around 15 days, okay? Comparing to other countries where it takes 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. The processing times vary depending on the country. right? So we need to check that as well. And the chances for SDS to be approved is a lot higher than normal applications because it ensures transparency and credibility in the application process, okay? Now, you need to understand how to be eligible to apply for SDS. So it's not only having a passport, it's not only having the citizenship for those countries that I mentioned, but there are some specific eligibility criteria that you need to follow. So in terms of academic requirements, here you need to receive the letter of acceptance for a designated institution, learning institution in Canada, okay? So here I beg you guys to pay attention. It must be a DLI institution, again, designated learning institution. Why? Because I know Canada is a pretty safe country and most of people want to come here because of the safety. However, there is fraud as well here, unfortunately. And there are many companies that just want your money and they will try to sell you a course that is a program of studies that is not from a designated learning institution. Then you're going to spend your money, waste your time. It's not going to help with immigration, and it's not going to be, you're not going to be eligible to apply for SDS, okay? And most important, you need to pay the first year of tuition. So usually when you enroll for a program of studies, you don't need to pay the first year or the whole program all at once. You pay by term. Each term is around 3-4 months. But for SDS, it is a requirement that you pay the whole first year, okay? And you need to show proof of payment, okay? Financial requirements, and here we had a recent change last week. So I'm glad that the live is being this week so I can bring this news for you in regards, because that will make a huge difference. That was like a very important update. So other than showing proof that you paid for the first year, you need to open a guaranteed investment certificate account, which we call GIC, okay? So just, you can be free to select the bank that you want to open this kind of account, but it needs to be this GIC account. And you need to deposit 10,000 Canadian dollars. And here is the important changes, the important update. Starting in January, so we're pretty close, January 24, the required amount will be 20,635, okay? So this amount is based on the LICO table, low income cutoff, okay? And it, unfortunately, they doubled. Unfortunately, they doubled the amount, more than double, right? Because this was not updated since to the early 2000s. So it's more than 23 years that they have not updated that amount. In my opinion here, it was very wrong for them to just to update it now for more than double and not even give time for the students to prepare themselves, right? But we have to follow the rules. So if you are applying this year, and here is my advice, if you're ready to apply, if you already have the LOA, be fast and apply until December 31st, because the minimum you have to prove is 10,000. But again, starting in January 1st, it's going to be 20,635, okay? Here is the language part, and here is where CELPIP and CAEL is going to help us, right? You have to prove that you have the minimum score for French or for English, right? Because Canada is majority in English, most applicants present the English test instead of the French test. There are a few tests that are accepted, and CAEL and CELPIP are one of them. If you decide to go with CAEL, which is something, because when you enroll in a program of studies, you also have to take the test, right? And CAEL is for academic purposes. So if you choose to take CAEL to be accepted into the university or college, you can also use that test results to be eligible for SDS. So you don't need to take 2 tests, okay? So here's an advice. If you're preparing yourself to take an academic test, go with CAEL, because then you can use it for SDS as well, okay? Same thing for CELPIP. Many people that are applying for immigration already and the program of studies at the same time, they already took CELPIP for their immigration profile, and then they can use their test for SDS as well, okay? If you decide to go with CAEL test, you need to have an overall score of 60 at least, okay? Now, CELPIP, you need to have 7 in every single band. So CELPIP does not consider the overall, okay? So it must be 7, speaking, reading, writing, and listening, okay? I've taken both of them. I took CELPIP twice, once for when I immigrated, and when I applied for my license to be a consultant, and I took CAEL as well. The good thing about CAEL, now giving my opinion, and Brenda is going to talk more about it very soon, is that it considers the overall. So some people have difficulties in the speaking, but they are great in writing, for example. So the good thing is that the writing is going to help with your bad speaking. But in my opinion, CELPIP is easier than CAEL, okay? Other than that, there are a few other requirements. So if you need to get a medical exam, depending on which country you are applying, you have to submit it up front, okay? And as well, depending on the country where you are applying, you also need to show a police certificate, okay? So those are the requirements. Pay the full year of the first year of tuition of a designated learning institution, have open GIC account and saving the money in that account, having the English or French test, and if it's CAEL, overall 60, if it's CELPIP, 7 in each band, presenting the medical exam up front and the police certificates, okay? So that's it about SDS. Again, guys, if you have any questions, I please ask you to send in the comments. But now I'm going to give the word to Brandy, because she's going to explain a little bit better how CAEL and CELPIP works. And I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you so much for sharing all that information with us, Isabella. It's very informative. I'm going to very quickly just add a couple of slides as well to our screen here. So again, a lot of you are likely familiar with the CELPIP test if you're watching this episode, as we deliver these CELPIP live episodes to prepare you. So as Isabella mentioned, the CELPIP and the CAEL test that we do are both language proficiency tests. I'll speak really quickly about CAEL at the end, but I wanted to focus on CELPIP for a second. And again, we're focusing on student direct stream in this episode, but I also wanted to remind everybody that when you register for a CELPIP test, if that's what you're doing, there are a couple of different versions of CELPIP, if you will. So if you are applying for permanent residency status, if you are applying for a professional designation and so on, you're going to register for the CELPIP general test. This is the one in red here on the left of the screen. So again, as Isabella mentioned, you need at least a band or a level 7 in your listening, reading, writing, speaking if you're applying for this SDS. Again, you will get an individual score in each of those language components on the CELPIP test. If you are eventually applying for your Canadian citizenship, you would only need to register for the CELPIP General LS, which is the one in green here on the right of your screen. So LS stands for listening and speaking. So that would be the only 2 components of the test that would be assessed. Again, that's for Canadian citizenship, which is different from the purposes, I guess, we're talking about today. I did want to share with you a map. So this is an existing map of where all of our CELPIP test centers live in the world. And I'm also going to share with you right now just a quick, right here. Let's put it up on the screen. There we go. Oops, it's overlaid right now. That's okay. Oh, maybe that, we'll take that off. There are a couple of countries, I guess, that have the, there we go, that have the SDS availability. So I'll just name the 5 countries for you so you'll know where you can take or apply for your student direct stream. So we have Brazil, India, Pakistan is opening very soon, China, and the Philippines. All right, so those are the countries associated with student direct stream at the moment. As Isabella said, things change very quickly. But when you take your CELPIP test in general, you must take it in a testing center. That is the only way that the IRCC would accept your scores for your immigration journeys and so on. All right. And last but not least, if you are using the CELPIP test to study here in Canada, there are many colleges that do accept the CELPIP scores as well. So we've listed just a couple of prominent ones here, or a list anyway, of some prominent ones here on the slide. There's a complete list at our website at celpip.ca. So if you are looking to study directly in Canada, I would encourage you to go and check out the complete list of all the schools across Canada that do accept the CELPIP score, and you'll see the different programs of study, I guess, that are available there. So I'm going to remove this from the screen and come back to Isabella. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us about SDS, or maybe some case studies perhaps of interest of how people have used student direct stream to study in Canada?
Yeah, sure. I will just share my screen again. So just give me 1 sec here. There you go. Something very interesting about SDS is that the chances of getting an approval are higher than normal applications, okay? So for example, in India, when we look the refusal numbers for the normal applications and SDS, the difference is huge, okay? So it's another way of increasing your chances of getting an approval. We know that some countries have a high refusal rate. So if you are from one of these countries and you do have all the requirements to go with SDS, we highly recommend choosing this pathway, okay? In 2023, we had no applications refused for SDS, and they were all processed within the time frame. Okay, so that's good because it gives you that feeling that you can plan yourself better. Okay, and here we shared some of the reviews that we had from our clients. Okay, recommending our services. Now I'm going to open for questions, and I will be happy to answer. I will just go back here to the chat just so I see if people have any questions.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. I was just going to say that Prabjeet had asked this question more towards the beginning of our session, and just, of course, wondering if you could take CELPIP test to study abroad.
It depends, right? Usually the colleges and universities, they will only accept academic tests. So as I said, CAEL is usually accepted, but CELPIP, I've heard of some universities that accept it, but not all, because CELPIP is not for academic purposes.
Okay, and Prabjeet has another question. I think he's asking about the CAEL test. Is that what you mean by KO, Prabjeet, maybe? Yeah, so again, we didn't discuss CAEL in a lot of detail today, as CELPIP Live focuses almost exclusively on the CELPIP test, but I'm happy to mention just a few things about CAEL. As Isabella says, it is one of the tests that you could take for your student direct stream. So CAEL is an academic language test. That's the main difference. CELPIP is for day-to-day language and for your immigration pathways. CAEL is taken if you're looking to enter a post-secondary institution in Canada. So this would mean a Canadian university or college and so on. It is about a 3-hour test, so it's almost the same length really as CELPIP. The cost is almost identical as well. But because the test is academic, it is going to be much more formal and much more complex. Again, if you can imagine studying at that first-year university level, that's the type of critical thinking and language ability that you'd want to have to successfully complete the CAEL test. A major difference, and I agree with Isabella in the sense that it could be a benefit depending on your strengths and weaknesses with language. The CAEL test is going to give you a different band score in each, an overall score rather of your average. So with your reading, writing, listening, and speaking on the test, you will get an individual score in each of those to begin with, but then those 4 scores will be averaged together. And it's the overall score that's going to be sent out to the institution where you're applying. And again, as Isabella mentioned, I'll echo that some of us are better in, say, speaking than writing, for example. So if you do exceptionally well in that area, because we're averaging the scores, it does have the ability to bring the overall score up. And again, you're looking for, was it a band 60 minimum, I think, right, Isabella? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so band 60 might be a bit easier. I do agree the CELPIP test is generally easier since it's a day-to-day functional language test. But again, a band 60 is definitely a good goal to aim for and very doable when you're well prepared. And when we do a lot of free Zoom webinars to prepare you for CAEL. But yeah, you must be prepared to answer questions in all 4 components, just like on CELPIP: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Just think of it as a more formalized test. So I hope that helps a little bit, with the CAEL test. Great, and I can see that in our live feed here. We've also posted a link to the CAEL.ca website if you're interested in exploring more, and you'll see a list of all of our live webinars upcoming that will help you prepare even more. Fantastic, thank you for asking that. We'll do a last little call out for questions there, see if anybody else has something they'd like to add. I think you've explained everything so clearly too, Isabella. I can't even myself think of something I'd like to ask. And I thank you for sharing your expertise. I feel myself now more prepared to answer questions from my own test takers when I work with them in session and they ask me about SDS, okay? And we see Prabjeet is saying, thank you for your time and your expertise and so on. All right.
Just an advice from someone that has taken the test. When I took CAEL, I was already living in Canada for what, I think, 7 years. So I was comfortable with my English test and I didn't prepare at all. So don't take it for granted. You must prepare even for CELPIP and CAEL or any other tests, right? Yeah. One thing is knowing English. One thing is being comfortable with your English. Another thing is taking the test. Right. You must know the format, how to manage your time, the tricky questions, right? So prepare yourself. And again, I know that CELPIP is always live, giving advices, giving tips. There is the material that they share as well in their website. So don't think that you know that you're fluent and that you will go and do well, because I have clients that their first language is English and they don't do well, right? So, and it's not because the test is super hard, but it's because it's a specific, right? So you must prepare yourself before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will echo that. I've got lots of friends that I've met in Vancouver who have immigrated here from places like Australia and Ireland. That's where we speak English as a first language. And like you, Isabella, they didn't prepare. They just assumed that they would ace the test. And there were some components they didn't do that well on. Listening was one of them, because they didn't even think to take notes while they were listening to the conversations. And then when the questions came, they sort of forgot a lot of those details. So it's a very good reminder, Isabella. Thanks for bringing that up. You really do need to know how the test is structured to just know which skills to brush up on before you come in, because it's not just about how strong your language skills are. It's, again, what to expect on testing. That's great. And we do have another question coming in here from Ashwati. How long do the SDS applications take to process? Great question.
So it's usually 15 days. Okay, so that's why it's a lot more beneficial for those who are applying. First, because of anxiety, right? When you are to the point where you already passed the test, you got accepted, and you finally applied. Some people, they have like to wait for years until they have all the financial means to come to Canada. And the waiting time is very hard on some people. So that's another benefit, because it's usually 15 days compared to 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, depending on the country.
Okay, yeah. And that's, it really expedites things, as you say, because a lot of us don't like to wait. So knowing that we'll be ready in quick time, I think is helpful. We have one more question I can see in our live chat about, and a lot of followers have been asking this, and Ashwati is posting it on their behalf right now. So where can you find out more information about countries that SDS is available in? So we've listed the 5, but again, where can they find out more, Isabella?
So of course, on the official site of IRCC, right? They are every update they will put there. We also have it in our website as well, right? So I will share in a few moments our contact information. But again, please follow us on social media. Every update that IRCC announces, we are quick. We get it upfront, and then we share it to everyone. As I said, things change all the time. But the official site, the official IRCC site, and of course our website and social medias, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel.
Okay, great. Yeah. And another question from our social media. Remember, we're on Instagram and YouTube and all over the place. So here's another question that's come in from several applicants actually, is can we use that same test that you use for your college applications? I think you addressed this, Isabella, but we just want
Exactly. Yeah. So for example, if you took CAEL to be accepted into your college university, and your overall or 60, you can definitely use the same test. Same for immigration. If you're already applying for immigration and you had the CELPIP 7 in each band, you can definitely use the same test for SDS. As long as
Perfect.
it's valid, right? Each test has a 2-year validity. So if it's valid, you can use for sure.
Yeah, that's great because nobody wants to take an extra test any time of the year.
Exactly. Because of the prices that you have to pay and the stress of going through the test again. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And here's a good question too. Why would someone take a CAEL test when they can take the CELPIP test instead, or vice versa? So again, does it depend, I guess, on the student or test taker's ultimate purpose for why they're taking the test in the first place as it associates with SDS? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess CELPIP more for PR or citizenship application, which you wouldn't use at that point anyway for SDS. And CAEL would be your academic study at university. So some schools do accept the CELPIP score for entrance.
Exactly. Some schools accept it. Most of them don't, because again, it's not for education purpose, but some of them do. But I do have clients that they have been trying to immigrate straight from their countries. And so they already took CELPIP, but then the scenario changed and then it's not that easy anymore. So they decide to come for a study. And because they already had the test for immigration, they use the same. But usually it's more common the other way around, because people took CAEL to be accepted into the university, and that they can use the same test for the SDS.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Perfect. All right. I don't see any other questions there in the chat. So I know you definitely want to share some of your contact info, Isabella, and I believe there's a promotion too. Yes, let's hear about it.
So for you guys that are applying for a program of studies, I know that most people that come to study in Canada, they actually want to immigrate, and education is a enter door to Canada, right? So if that's the case, if you are interested to know about immigration options, where to go, where it's easier according to your profile, or if you want to know your chances of approval for your study permit based on your particularities, just book a consultation with us. It's going to be a pleasure to help you guys. And if you use the coupon CELPIP SDS, which is valid until the end of January, you can get a $10 discount on the consultation. Okay. Excellent. If you have any questions or about what I said here today or anything else, you can send us an email on contact@evisaimmigration.com. Here's a sentence that we like to share. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, and working together is a success.
Nice.
Thank you so much, guys. Again, it was a pleasure being here today. Thank you, Brandon, for the invitation. I hope I can come here more often to talk about SDS again, or even other topics that you guys choose.
Yes, absolutely. It's been wonderful having you with us today, Isabella. And I know that we've all learned a lot about the process. So thanks so much, and a very happy holidays to you. We'll hope to see you again.
Yeah. To you too. And thank you again, guys, for joining us today.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So thanks, everybody, for joining us for today's episode and for subscribing to our channel. If you found this video really useful, feel free to give it a thumbs up and share it with anybody else that you think might find it relevant. I also invite you at this point, you can start thinking about content or topics that you're very interested in learning about more with the CELPIP test. A lot of the content that we've been delivering to you these past 3.5 years on CELPIP Live have come directly from test taker requests. So please get your request in to give us time to start working on some exciting content for you in the new year as well. I haven't forgotten the answer to the trivia question, so let's put that up on the screen here. Our question was, Meli Kaliki Maka means Merry Christmas in what language? And I don't think I saw anybody attempt to answer that question, so let's just show you the answer now. Our answer is Hawaiian. If you're ever in Hawaii during the Christmas season, you'll hear that Christmas carol playing everywhere. At any rate, thanks for joining us. Today's episode is the last episode of 2023. It's hard to believe that we're almost at the end of another year, but we will be coming back in January with more live content for all of you. So in the meantime, from all of us here at CELPIP, we wish you a very happy holidays. Stay safe, stay healthy, have fun, and we hope to see you back in January. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.